All right, back here on Louis Live. Thank you for listening, and shout out to Tomer Gershman. You hear all that great music all the time on my show. That's thanks to him. And shout out to Lior, who's producing with me tonight. A great show. Again, Donald Sanford, the medal-winning runner, the European Championships in about 10 minutes. We'll speak with Adriana Lutansky from Israel Softball, Moshe Ponti, president of the Israel Judo Association. But on the line right now, discussing a little Jewish NFL, Radio Mike from Kew Garden Hills. Radio Mike, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, how are you?
Doing great. You know, I was telling a friend of mine that American football is really not our people's sport. You know, when we do play sports, usually baseball, we have a couple basketball players, even some boxers, but for whatever reason, there are not a lot of NFL players. Let's first start with that. Do you have potential theories about why there are not so many Jews in the NFL? I know we had Shlomo Weingrad, who won a title with the Cowboys, and Fiedler, and Sage Rosenfeld, et cetera, but it's not a lot. What's your theory on that?
Well, my theory is very obvious because football is also nicknamed pigskin. So, pig isn't kosher, so that's why you don't have that many football players.
Sure.
You could possibly say that maybe because the average Jewish male is not that big a guy, and in football you do need big guys. Certainly the linemen, and they're not that fast. The joke is white man can't jump, Jewish people can't jump as well as some other people. Football really hasn't caught on with the Jewish players, even though right now in the NFL there are 7 Jewish players. But for the most part, it's always been like the third or fourth sport in America.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely see baseball is a tremendous amount of Jewish people. And, of course, we have 2 managers right now. Brad Osmus was on the show a few months ago. And we also have a manager in the American League West. But it doesn't seem like NFL is. You talk about the 7 players. Before we get to the 2 brothers, do these 7 players make any type of decent, significant contribution whatsoever?
Well, not really. As far as I know, they're under the radar. They're not like a Tom Brady type or anything like that. No one really stands out except for these 2 brothers.
All right, so tell us about them. They're 2 Jewish brothers that play in the NFL. Tell us what teams they play on and how many years they've been in the league.
Well, there's one fellow. His name is Mitchell Schwartz. Mitch Schwartz. He plays for the Cleveland Browns. He was the second round. He was picked in the second round 2 years ago, which is pretty high. The 5th pick in the second round, the 37th draftee overall. So, and he has very, very high ratings. He's an offensive tackle for the Cleveland Browns, which, in other words, he has to protect the quarterback, and they do have some high,
they drafted Johnny Manziel, a Heisman-winning quarterback, and they're talking about.
So that's his job to protect them. So they have a good offensive tackle to do that.
So he definitely, that's an important position. Johnny Manziel, they invested a lot in him. He was the 22nd pick in the draft, and I know they say he might not start right away, but obviously he's the starting quarterback at some point. They're going to groom him for that. And so Mr. Schwartz is going to be in charge of protecting him. And tell us about his brother that's in the league.
Yeah, so his brother, Jeff Schwartz, he's a couple of years older. He's 28 years old. He's also an offensive guard. He plays for the New York Giants. He did play for a couple other teams. He's been in the league, I believe, like 3 or 4 years. And these are the first Jewish brothers that have played in the NFL since 1923. So that's pretty good. And they both, they consider themselves conservative Jews. The one brother, Jeff Schwartz, when it's in December and he has to light the Hanukkah menorah, he'll actually take a menorah with him in case he has to travel someplace with candles, and he'll light it in his hotel room. So they're proud of being Jewish football players.
All right, good to speak with Radio Mike from Kew Garden Hills here on Louis Live. Now, this is a bit of a curveball question. I know we're talking about football, but, Yom Kippur is a few weeks away, about a month away, and it's on Shabbat this year. Now, they won't be playing on Shabbat. They'll be playing on Sunday. And I heard a rumor that they, I think, are going to try to make Kol Nidre but they might not necessarily fast because the Saturday before the game is some type of practice, a walkthrough. So I want to know if you had any just inside information about it, because we know they've had players in other sports who did go to Kol Nidre. I just want to know if that was the plans of the Schwartz brothers.
Well, I certainly don't have any inside information with the Schwartz brothers, but I did read up on them that they actually will not play on Rosh Hashanah, and they do not like playing on Saturdays. But Sunday's fair game. But I think that they would keep fasting on Yom Kippur, and they're very proud of being Jewish.
All right. So here's also an interesting situation with Jeff Schwartz, who plays for the Giants, and obviously you're a big fan of the Giants. I understand there's a player in the Jets, not the biggest fan of Israel. You probably know who I'm talking about. He made some statements during the war. And I know personally a Jets fan who's moving over to the Giants fan. And will you see a change? New York City, huge Jewish population. And if you have a Jewish player in the Giants and there's a player in the Jets that's a bit anti-Israel, are we going to see all those Jet jerseys being burned and thrown in the trash by Jewish fans?
Well, I don't think there's going to be a major outcry. Jews, if a guy can hit a home run, 500 feet and he's on steroids, most people don't have a problem with that. And the same thing with their political outlook. If a guy is a wife beater, well, okay, that's fine by me as long as he can, score a touchdown. So the same thing, unfortunately, whether a person is a Palestinian and wants all the Jews to be wiped out. But I don't believe he's one of these, football players who's, putting that in the front line there, that he's a Palestinian and he wants, all the territories to be given to the Palestinians, and Israel should be wiped out from the country. I don't think that is the case. So, so I don't think there'll be too much of an outcry between the Jews and Palestinians in the upcoming NFL season.
All right. The NFL kicks off, by the way, this Thursday night. If you want to watch the game in Israel, you got to be up at 3 in the morning. It will be the Seattle Seahawks versus the Green Bay Packers. So that'll be a fun game. Aaron Rodgers versus the defending champions and Russell Wilson and company. Radio Mike, thank you for being on Louis Live tonight, and we will be in touch. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
All right.